Ladies and gentlemen, this is Greenbuild 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President, CEO, and Founding Chair of the U.S. Green Building Council, Rick Fedrizzi.
Hello! Hello, Greenbuild Nation! How's everybody tonight? Wow! I have a message for Mayor Nutter. Every time there's a LEED Platinum building in Philly, the Eagles will win. What I've seen, you got it. What I've seen in the last few days is we are back, ladies and gentlemen, as a nation and as a global economy. Nothing could be better for our movement. I can't even find the words to describe the energy and excitement I've seen in Philadelphia this week. When you walk the halls, the Expo floor, the streets of this great city, you come to the conclusion that Philadelphia was exactly the right place to convene Greenbuild Nation at this moment in time. Philadelphia, as many of you know, it is a city of firsts. The first public parks and the first botanical gardens. The first public school and the first library, the first bank, even the first stock exchange. Of course, we all know that the U.S. Constitution was drafted and signed here. The first flag, our flag, was sewn here. And the first and lasting symbol of our freedom, the Liberty Bell, well, that was cracked here. Philadelphia is where we conceived our liberty and began to build our nation. And when you think about the earliest days of our country, the men and women who founded this nation, who did the heavy lifting, you can only imagine the incredible opposition and the unthinkable issues they might have encountered. When you remember how little they had beyond a profound belief in the rightness of their actions and the unity of their vision, one nation under God, indivisible. Now fast forward a couple of hundred years, and wow, the recent events in Washington can only leave you shaking your head. The bipartisan bickering and the small-minded rhetoric from both sides, and the divisive posturing and shutdown of the government that we had just experienced shows the huge difference between today's win-at-all-costs form of government and the authentic leadership that was the mindset of those who came together here in Philadelphia in 1776. Absolutely. Our founders reached down within themselves to put their differences aside and act not in their own self-interest, but in the good for Americans yet to be born. Those leaders of this country's future checked their ideologies, their special interests, and their individual wants and needs at the door. They worked together to create a blueprint for a country that was in and of itself noble in purpose and sustainable in execution. Our forefathers and mothers were in effect card-carrying, dyed-in-the-wool, totally committed optimists. You know, the glass half full people. As I've thought about what our green building movement has encountered over the past few years, the similarities are kind of stark. Like our founders, we set out with bold leadership. We've worked across the entire building continuum to do something important, only to find ourselves sucked into the muck of special interest and bitter politics at a time when nobody can afford it. We set out to create a movement that held the promise of a better world for our families, for our health, and for our businesses, only to find ourselves facing organizations committed to preserving their single-focus status quo. Like our forebears, we too find that our vision seems harder and harder to advance and sometimes feel pretty worn thin by the effort. As you know from my remarks last year, I was pretty sure there had been a mass distribution of the Scoundrel's Handbook. You can Google that. And that our only response was to declare we are right and fully join the battle. I got, as you know, a little worked up last year. This year, though, I began to think about all that negativity and of the immense amount of work that's still in front of us all. And I found myself thinking about another book, The Silver Linings Playbook. Remember that? The 2012 awesome Oscar-winning movie about a young man with overwhelming personal challenges that threaten to consume him. In that movie, the main character, played by Bradley Cooper, held fast to the belief that the only weapon he had to overcome these challenges was hope. He understood that the only trajectory he needed in his battle against his personal demons was the one that pointed him not into the jaws of battle, but skyward. Not as far as heaven, a little bit shorter. He believed that if he soared over and above these profound clashes of daily living, he would find inspiration from that higher view. And it was from that perspective he was able to fill his heart with optimism and the possibility of success. That's also the reason why he adopted his personal mantra, Excelsior, which many of you know loosely translates to always upward. The irony that Silver Linings Playbook is set in the city of Philadelphia is not lost on me at all. And don't misunderstand me, I do believe with all my heart that we are right. But I've also come to believe that there's something really important here that I almost missed. It's the idea that with every storm cloud that we have faced, there's a silver lining, but we have to look for it. That every time we overcome our challenges, we find ourselves changed for the better. We become more open, less judgmental, more committed to working together, and less willing to give up what we believe in. If we just look upward, the silver linings in our movement, ladies and gentlemen, are almost blinding. Here in Philadelphia, where the most profound optimism ever witnessed was unfurled in that great document that starts with "We the People," we have gathered one of the largest collections of positive thinkers this world has ever known. We, the people, are Greenbuild Nation, where almost 28,000 of us this week have spent it debating and discussing and celebrating the noble cause of sustainability. And I don't use the word noble lightly. In fact, the nobility of USGBC's mission of a sustainable building, sustainable economic growth, and sustainable harmony with the Earth's resources is one of my core reasons for optimism. And I'll give you just a few examples. Let me start with our 77 amazing USGBC chapters. The work of our chapters is undertaking is astonishing. From green schools to green jobs, from better buildings to better policies. In many cities, they are the foundation for most of the work going on in the vast modern environmental movement. It's not just our chapters across there are many silver linings together where we can look, creating connective tissue beyond members of thousands of amazing environmental and social ecosystems. Some are even self-organizing around the evolving patterns of opportunity, taking advantage of technology tools that have only just become available to us. One example is the Sustainability Nexus right here in Philadelphia. It's weaved by the city's multifaceted sustainability community, including those folks that make up our amazing host chapter, the Delaware Valley Green Building Council, and groups like this all around the world. The World Green Building Council now numbers 100 countries and growing, providing that same kind of connective and collaboration tissue between the political and the local landscapes in every corner of the planet. One of World Green Building Council's regional networks, the 35-country member network in the EU, for example, are coming together to find important solutions to something very different. Instead of creating armed camps of small differences, they're joining together around what they have in common and using it to move upward together. Another example, groups of lead APs, one in Hong Kong called the Platinum Group, for instance, who have self-organized to support each other and advance the important ideas of green building throughout that part of the world. These are all examples of people whose optimism and courage far outweigh the rhetoric that says we should simply put a green label on the status quo and call it done. We are not done, not even close. We have a lot more work to do. Look, we've seen the numbers that make us all feel good about what we've been able to accomplish so far. How many square feet of LEED space is being certified globally every single day? How many LEED professional credential holders there are? How many member companies we have and what their employee populations are? But there's some other numbers that underscore the reasons why we're actually able to accomplish what we're all trying really hard to accomplish. And they fuel an optimism of yet unimagined proportions. Now consider this. Today, the global internet population numbers 2.1 billion people. And every minute of every day, nearly 285 million emails are sent. This is every single minute, folks. 570 new websites are created. More than 3,000 new photos are uploaded to Flickr, and the same number are shared on Instagram. Every minute, 29,000 Tumblr blogs are published. 47,000 apps are downloaded by Apple. 100,000 tweets are sent. At Rick Fedrizzi, by the way. 685,000 shares happen on Facebook. Every single minute. This social media phenomenon topples governments, elects leaders, and helps to fuel the transformation within the growing community of those of us who believe in and support sustainability. When this many people can talk to each other about what they care deeply about, when they can seamlessly collaborate, they can and they are changing the world. We've used the power of our wireless world to create a strong central nervous system for our movement, but it's the distributed intelligence of that system that gives it real power. It enables tools like the Green Building Information Gateway, GBIG we call it, where people can find new ways to put a fine point on the best strategies, validate them, evaluate them, and send them off in real time around the world. It inspires programs like the Green Apple Day of Service, where we disperse the energy of people in 41 countries and all 50 states to make substantive improvements in over 2,100 schools and affecting more than 2.5 million students and teachers' lives. I agree. 100% of our chapters joined together, recruiting almost 250,000 people to convince the world that where our kids learn really does matter. It matters so much that we've just launched the Global Coalition for Green Schools with a list of 30 countries from around the world who have committed to using USGBC's Center for Green Schools model to build national efforts within their own countries. This distributed intelligence is what allows partners to seamlessly connect to each other so that they can work together to advance our goal of putting every child on the planet in a green school within this generation. And it's also what links our advocates, our members, our chapters, our volunteers, and our staff when we need to act because the absolute worst has happened. When Hurricane Katrina happened, when Greensburg, Kansas happened, when Hurricane Sandy happened, and just 2 weeks ago with Typhoon Haiyan. When an earthquake takes the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, where things were already desperate, and makes things vastly worse. Most of you know that since 2010, we've used every one of these tools to gather the resources together, the land, the partners, the dollars, to build an orphanage and children's center in Haiti. We knew it wouldn't be easy to build anything in the rubble that was left after the earthquake, and that has proven to be an understatement. But we felt if we could build this one facility to house these children, we would have done something really important. You learn a lot by getting your hands dirty, by actually doing something and not just talking about it. By building this LEED Platinum orphanage that these children deserve, we could create a model for resilient green design that could be a replicable model for the world in need. In September, we had the honor of announcing that Project Haiti would from now on be known as the William Jefferson Clinton Children's Center. Thanks to President Clinton. Thanks to President Clinton, in that one act, we've been able to ignite our fundraising efforts and expect to celebrate its completion at Greenbuild next year in New Orleans. Now, this does not happen alone, folks. So I want to have you, many thanks are owed to our board chair, Al Skadowski, for his tireless work, to Roger Limoges on my staff, who's been on point with this project from the very beginning, to Marianne Lazarus and HOK for their generous pro bono contributions of design, and to Paul Scialla and Delos Living, who've become the single largest contributor to date on this important effort. They're sitting right here. Please stand up and let everyone say thank you. True heroes, ladies and gentlemen. Every single one of these are examples of the silver linings made possible by our movement, and they may ultimately prove to be a greater force of hope than any storm of policies and politics, special interests can even imagine. In our work to bring sustainability to every community on the planet and to use the power of green building to do so, we've begun to see firsthand what real market transformation looks like. It looks like the list of growing Fortune 500 companies who are using their massive weight of their supply chains to drive transparency into materials so that we can begin to make positive changes in our products that enhance our health, not compromise it. It looks like pension funds who want an accounting for how companies are going to handle the risks of climate change. And it looks like bank, mortgage, and insurance companies telling the world that green homes are quality homes, and they deserve to have favorable financing and lower insurance premiums. It looks like LEED v4 passed by 86% of our member consensus body. And it looks like this dynamic LEED plaque that measures real-time building performance. It looks like Greenbuild, not just in the US, but the spanking brand new Greenbuilds that we're going to be doing with our new global partner, Hanley Wood, in Italy and Brazil in 2014. And it looks like USGBC's double down on the profound connection between human health and the built environment by announcing today the establishment of the Center for Green Building and Human Health at USGBC. I love that you love this stuff. Modeled after the Center for Green Schools, the amazing Center for Green Schools, our intent is to leverage USGBC's unique convening and communications capacity to advance evidence-based changes in how we build and operate our buildings and communities, to improve our health and enhance our well-being. What this all means is, despite some lingering shrill voices at the edges of civilization as we know it, research indicates that more people support the notion of sustainable buildings and communities than do not. We've expanded far beyond our core of believers and even beyond our large base that believes sustainability is morally and intellectually the right thing to do. We've finally convinced the world that sustainability is more than just best practices in environmentalism. It's also best practice of capitalism, and companies that are embedding sustainability into their DNA, not just their CSR reports, are finding their bottom lines healthier, their top lines growing, their employees more engaged, and their stars rising on Main Street and Wall Street. These are all silver linings, and there's thousands more of them. They give us hope for our movement, for our economy, and for our planet, and for our future. And every one of them is built on the same simple premise that if we link hands, not cross swords, that we spend our precious energy plowing common ground, not seeding distrust, that we lead together with courage and compassion to achieve our shared vision of health, prosperity, and a sustainable future for ourselves and our children. We can't do it alone, folks. So my simple message to anyone on the fence is this: join us. American Chemistry Council, join us. And let's use our combined arsenal of intelligence and resources to show all the amazing ways the chemical industry has actually benefited humanity, and how by working together we can create safer and healthier buildings and communities. Join us all legitimate rating systems: BREEAM and CASB, Estidama, DGNB, Green Star, and China 3-Star. Let's share our data and work together to achieve the level of performance that will give us the future we all want. Join us, Wall Street, and help us use the power of the market to reward those that are driving the next great wave of innovation and growth in our global economy. And last but not least, join us, Congress. Join the mayors of your great cities who are doing the heavy lifting, and we all know could move faster with your leadership and support from Washington. Let's pack up our small tents of special interest and move into the Big Tent of collaboration and common purpose. Join us, and together we'll find the renewed commitment, rekindled passion, and the sense of fulfillment that goes with doing something that really matters. Out of a common frustration, together we can achieve great clarity. And out of that clarity, we can create a million silver linings of progress, accomplishment, and hope. We can get there a lot faster, ladies and gentlemen, but we gotta go together. So join us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.